up and the city was on fire. You could see the pandemonium for miles. I've been living with this feeling for a while. If death is coming, I'ma greet him with us. I've been living like push the pedal to the metal till I see the flag blowing chunks out the ozone while I burn the gas crackers on my ass. Think I'm finna crash. I ain't worried till I hit the curb. Vision blurs, learn every word. Coupe in is filled with different flavors. They just wanna live something I could give life in the 16. Painting pictures like the 16. Even now I'm on my back staring at the ceiling wondering what this shit mean. I don't wanted this my whole life. Now I'm here feeling so right. Getting faded in the strobe lights. Nigga, I could do this all night. Show me life, show me love, show me something real, show me something brand new. Take your time, ain't no rush. I just wanna feel everything you've been through. We ain't leaving till they shut it down. So take advantage when it come around. Doing damage every time we out. They gon' remember me without a doubt. Nigga, we gon' live it up, so can't get enough. Ain't no bottom to my cup, no. Let's split it up, you know how I like my blunts roll. If I'ma go tonight, then I'ma do it right. So live it up, nigga, we gon' live it up, so can't get enough. Ain't no bottom to my cup, no. Let's split it up, you know how I like my blunts roll. If I'ma go tonight, then I'ma do it right, yeah. I woke up and the city was on fire. You could see the pandemonium for miles. I've been living with this feeling for a while. If death is coming, I'ma greet him with us. Everyone dies, but have you been living? Take full advantage of what you've been given. You woke up, you winning. If that ain't enough, fuck up a check and go live it up. Me and my niggas, we pull up and not ready or not. Before you know it, I'm feeling the vibe. Hard to ignore it, I can't even try, and that be a lie. Look, I seen a lot, but it's all over. Once you were left, I just crossed over. Cup full of Henny without soda. Remedy anything life throw you. On D&D for the night, so gold. Leave me a message when that toll roll. I hate you back when I get focused. Right now I'm on it and buy loaded. Look, the city is
And we are live. Oh boy, what a weekend! What a weekend! Woo! We got a lot to get into. First of all, Jeffrey, how was your weekend, buddy? How was your weekend in the nation's capital?
The nation's capital was beautiful. A little chilly out there. Funny story, actually. We started our weekend off on Friday by our first thing we were doing was we're gonna hit up the White House and do the White House tour. And we get there and we go to check in. You got to go through 2 different Secret Service locations to get in. I get there, I give him my ID. Guy goes, "Oh man, that's unfortunate." I go, "What's that?" He goes, "Somebody messed up your birthday." I go, "Okay." So, unfortunately, my wife, God bless her, she unfortunately put my birthday in as 1995 instead of 1985, which means they had to rerun an entire background check. So we're sitting there for about 35, 40 minutes, and they walk up to me, and my kids have been sitting there on pins and needles, waiting to get into the White House, excited to go in. The lady's like, "Listen, I don't know how long this is going to take. You want to come back tomorrow?" I said, "Absolutely not, but are they okay to go in?" So I sent everybody else in, and unfortunately, I was not able to go see our dear president and the White House. Other than that, it was great, though. Rode around on the scooters, ate great food, spent great time with our good buddy Joe Corvelli, who's up there in D.C. right now, and his family, his beautiful family, Avery and Catherine. Unbelievable time. Great time spent with great people. Flight was a little delayed last night. I am a little tired. Got in very, very late. But here we are, up and at 'em, ready to, take my lumps, as they say. Because it was not a good weekend for your boy when it came to some of those things.
It's gonna be a fun show. The funny thing about our good friend Joe is I still haven't seen him on the sub list yet. It's weird. I'm sure it's probably a technical glitch or something that's happened down there in DC. I know the internet's a little sketchy, but
He's on a plane right now to Orlando. So
good. Maybe I'll just see him face to face, and be like, "Hey, bro." Well, that sucks that you didn't get to go to see the White House.
Okay.
I can't believe it feels like a little sabotage to me, though. It
was interesting. I didn't want to say anything. My wife is expecting, and sometimes that brain just things happen and it don't work. But we did get to see a lot of cool things. Did the Capitol, did the monument, did the Lincoln Memorial. Went to a bunch of museums. Got to see the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, which is a really beautiful building they built. The National Archives is absolutely incredible. So we had a great time, regardless. Great time with family and friends. You can never beat that.
I don't think I've ever known of a time when the United States hasn't spent a nickel to make something extremely nice for something, for the people, of course.
Unbelievably gorgeous. Unbelievably gorgeous. Can't take any pictures in there whatsoever.
No,
they have
really?
everything set up and yeah, no, you can't take pictures at all anywhere in the building. They're very strict and it has to do. They actually have the lighting set to where if you try to take a picture, your flash will go off, and they'll immediately basically take your phone, delete the picture, and then keep you moving.
But you can't do it without a flash?
No, because the way the lighting is set up, anything you try to take will basically be done. But and also the reason for it is because the lighting is set so that those documents don't become as weathered over time as well too. So.
iPhone's got some pretty amazing technology, and I think Google does as well. That you can take some pictures in the dark, and it comes out.
You probably
pretty
could, but with 10 security guards standing around you, staring at you,
it's funny.
Really tough to.
When we went to visit the Sistine Chapel, they said the same thing. Now, myself personally, I respect the rules and regulations, especially
Always.
when I'm in a different country, even though it's in a Catholic place. That's a whole different thing.
You're not bringing CBD into Russia? What do you mean?
No.
Go ahead.
No. But there were people that were taking pictures in there. And a few of them did not get caught. They just kind of went along their business. But I don't know. So anyway, let's get to some football here. Let's get to this. We're not quite to the team of destiny yet, but it's coming. But there's one thing that I thought was pretty funny with the commentators that I want to talk about first. And I don't know if you watched a little bit of the halftime or whatever. I can't even remember which game it was on, but Gronk's on the Fox set now. And they were prefacing the, I think it was the Giants-Eagles game. That was the third time that they were playing or something like that. And they were asking Gronk, they beat him twice in the regular season. And Gronk's like, well, you just throw that playbook out because the playoffs is the playoffs. And they're going to keep doing the same thing. It's the same thing that the Bucs did to the Saints. The Saints beat us both times in both years, and then we just absolutely demolished them in the playoffs. Sean just kept doing the exact same thing. Sean Payton's literally 50 feet away, and they cut to him, and he's pacing around, he's throwing stuff. Oh, dude, that was classic. That was a good one there. They got Sean Payton pretty good.
Good for Gronk, Hopefully there was no recruiting going on by Sean Payton to Rob Gronkowski on that set. Although I'm sure with, the upstanding morals that those Saints coaches usually have when it comes to the NFL, that there would never be any tampering while somebody's still under contract.
I would guess so. So, as you guys can see right here, we did update the playoff picks. Jeffrey had another 50-50. Your boy Business Time's on absolute fire. Of course, I don't bet these, and that's probably why. Because if I would have put money on any of those, they probably wouldn't have gone. But let's dig into Jags and Chiefs, Duval City. The first thing I saw, so obviously let's talk about the Patrick Mahomes injury. And, it's worse than they're letting on to. A high ankle sprain, as we saw later with Troy Pollard, he never came back. I think that his obviously probably wasn't tweaked as bad, although it looked pretty bad as well, that they had to remove him for his own safety because obviously he wanted to play. And I thought Tony Romo gave a great breakdown analysis of this. I don't know if you saw that, but he was talking about he's going to be able to play that day and get through it, but on Wednesday he's going to be on crutches. It's going to hurt that bad, and the whether he's available for Sunday or not is going to be absolutely huge. But the thing that I thought was funny is when he went out and the Chiefs went from the 2-yard line and drove all the way down. My first question was, it's not Mahomes, it's the system. Because that's all right? It's not Hurts, it's the system. So if that backup quarterback that's been there for 15 years can go down there, drive down there, is it really Patrick Mahomes or is it the system? I think we're all going to agree Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. But that was just a fun little talking point that I thought, if a backup could go all the way down there, I don't know.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest about that drive, though, right? Chad Henne, there was a beautiful, just ball gets tipped up in the air right into the Jacksonville player's hands. It should have been intercepted. He drops it. Very unfortunate. A terrible roughing call as well, too, to give him 15 yards on that drive. I thought the officiating in that game was absolutely terrible. And it was very, very one-sided toward the Chiefs, personally. But
no,
yes,
I would agree.
98-yard drive. It was a great drive. Good for Chad Henne. That was awesome. It was great. Let's be honest. Chad Henne's not flicking it 50 yards downfield on the run, moving to his his left or right like Patrick Mahomes is, right? Like
Correct.
Yes, you could say it's system. You could say Andy Reid can scheme people open, which he absolutely can. And you could say that, look, to me, my opinion on it is that, first of all, the Bengals are the luckiest freaking team I've ever seen in my life.
We're not on the Bengals yet.
I know, but
we're not there.
It's going to be very fortunate for them, because they're either going to have a incapacitated Patrick Mahomes, where he's going to be hobbled to the point where you're not going to have to ever spy him or worry about him getting out of the pocket and scrambling for 10 to 15 yards, or they're going to get a Chad Henne, who is not Patrick Mahomes, who's not even Chase Daniel, if we're being honest, as a backup, who they're going to stomp out anyway. So listen. Good for the Chiefs. This game pissed me off to no degree. I'm going to say that. No, because, listen, as somebody who had the over and somebody who had Jacksonville covered. That was fine. That was great. But as somebody who had the over in this game that I was so sold on, as somebody who thought the Jags could come in there and win the game, the Jags should have won that game. I don't care.
But they didn't.
They didn't win the game. All right? And if anything, I'm more confident in Trevor Lawrence and in that team going forward. All right? That's the only thing that it told me. Listen, there was a huge drop by Christian Kirk. I mean, Lawrence can't throw an any better ball than he absolutely did. It hits him right in the hands, and Christian Kirk drops it. Very unfortunate. I thought Jacksonville moved the ball very well. I think Jacksonville, that James Robinson trade, to me, I think looking back on it, it was just not a good one. I think you need a supplementary back to Etienne, right? Etienne is great, but you need a guy who's going to just run between the tackles. Etienne, he's a great all-around back, but you need a second guy. Whether it's, the fumble that they had was it Hasty, I think. I'm not sure. I forget who it was. Somebody fumbled, and then the very last play as well to fumble the ball on like the 1 yard line or whatever it was. Obviously Trevor Lawrence throws the interception there, which was unfortunate. But I thought Jacksonville, to me, looked like they were just as good of a team as Kansas City. Obviously, when you're playing a team like Kansas City, you can't turn the ball over at all. You cannot turn the ball over in the red zone, and you can't turn the ball over in that situation. But I did think that Jacksonville held their own. I think Duval is just on the way up. You add Calvin Ridley to that offense next year. They'll figure out what they're going to do at tight end with Evan Ingram. But if you had Calvin Ridley, maybe another supplemental back to go along with Etienne, keep on building that line through the draft. Keep on building that, defense through the draft as well, too. I think that's the only thing you need to do. Defense, right, and offensive line. Everything else you're going to be able to figure out. They're going to be absolutely fine. Trevor Lawrence is going to be the second coming. He's going to be in the playoffs every single year. Every single year he's going to be top 4. Right, he will be in a divisional game with a chance to go to the championship, and then we'll see how it pans out from there. Obviously, I was very upset that the stat of Trevor Lawrence never losing on a Saturday his entire career from high school all the way up and through college. He had never lost a game on a Saturday. This ends up being the first one in a game that, in my opinion, they still should have won.
He's the second coming?
The second coming of,
Of what?
He has. I think Trevor Lawrence, and I said this from the time that he was in college, he's the best college prospect I have ever seen in my life. I think he has a chance to be, now we'll see about longevity of career. He has a chance to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Really? Really?
Absolutely.
Do you? Let me ask you this question. Hold on one second. No, you hold on one second.
NFL that you would take over Trevor Lawrence.
Joe Burrow.
Give you Joe Burrow. Is there anybody else?
Patrick Mahomes.
It's close for me.
Well, I just give
seriously.
You two. All right. So
contract and longevity of career, and I
want to pose this question: Can one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time come out of a Jacksonville franchise? I mean, I think you're forgetting that.
He's a franchise-changing quarterback. What do you mean?
Okay, look at Dan Marino down in Miami. He never won a Super Bowl.
If Dan Marino played in today's NFL, Dan Marino would have been the greatest quarterback of all time without an absolute doubt. The way that Dan Marino played the position, the way
we're not going to do that
over the yard, the rules now that benefit the offense. Are you kidding me? Dan Marino would have.
We're not going to do
100% won championships.
We might as well debate LeBron versus Jordan while we're on it. You want
to go? I can go right now.
Well, if you say LeBron, you're just wrong. That's all there is to it.
LeBron's number 2.
Correct. Well, at least we agree with that. Yeah, you know, I thought the same thing. You know, Christian Kirk, you were brought to Jacksonville for a reason. You got a bag to come down. And in the biggest moment of one of the biggest games of that franchise history, you drop the ball. Now,
it was a tough catch.
Now,
it wasn't the easiest catch in the world. Let's not, like, get it twisted.
It doesn't matter. You were brought there as one of the highest paid receivers in the league, and that ball hit you directly in the hands. I know it's tough. I know it's not an easy catch, but that's why you're paid as one of the top receivers. It was Devontae.
Listen, he's trying to catch a brick from 55 yards away. Is it unfortunate that he dropped it? Yes. Am I like putting
how many balls does Tyreek Hill catch like that? How many balls has Devontae Adams caught like that? I understand what you're saying, and I'm not putting it only down him, but the dude, you got the bag. That's what you're brought in there for. If he makes that catch, he's a hero in Jacksonville. Because that catch changes the entirety of that whole game.
You're not putting Christian Kirk on the same page as Tyreek Hill or Devontae Adams.
He's paid like him.
You're not holding him to that standard. It doesn't
What's
matter.
his contract?
You have to overpay people to go to Jacksonville.
You've
been to Jacksonville.
What's his contract?
You've been to Jacksonville.
Yeah, Jacksonville has a better fan base than Tampa. Exactly. And you know I'm right. So, yes. So, those fans are starved, and it doesn't matter. What's Christian Kirk's contract?
What does the fan base matter? It has to do with where you're signing for multiple years. Where do you want to live at? Would you rather live in Tampa or Jacksonville?
It doesn't matter if I'm getting paid $100 million.
It does matter.
Oh, you are out your mind.
I'm not out my mind.
Out your damn mind. Have you been to Jacksonville? Have you spent time in Jacksonville?
If somebody's offering you the exact same amount of money.
Nobody was offering him that money. Nobody was offering him that money.
There was a team that
As a matter of fact, Jacksonville blew everybody out of the water with that contract, and everybody, including you, kicked back.
Know that.
I do know that because we talked about it. You're exact. I cannot believe he got that much money.
I thought it was a lot of money at the time, but I didn't listen. Christian Kirk was a great wide receiver for the Cardinals.
Not saying that, but I'm saying if your contract puts you in the top 5 of receivers, okay, regardless of where you're playing, you need to produce as a top 5 receiver. End of story. Just like quarterbacks. If you're in the top 5 of a paid percent of a quarterback, you better play as a top 5 quarterback. That's just the way it is. Otherwise, just like Roquan Smith, he is now the top paid linebacker. Okay, would it be acceptable for him to finish about 10th in the linebacker categories every year? Nope. 7th? Nope. 5? Pushing it. But you better be in the top 3 of producing plays for your team if you're going to be in that contract. That's just all there is to it. That's my take.
Christian Kirk's going to be a great wide receiver going forward to them. When you look at adding Calvin Ridley now and not always having him doubled, you got a good possession receiver in Zay Jones. We'll see what they do with Evan Ingram. I think the contract's going to be absolutely fine.
What do you keep saying about Evan Ingram? Is his contract up this year?
He's an unrestricted free agent this year.
Ooh.
So it'll be interesting to see where he goes.
Well, they did say, obviously he lines up as a wide receiver pretty much, I think, 80% of the time, even though he's classified as a tight end. And
he's not a huge blocking tight end, but, I mean, he's a physical kid.
He can do a lot.
He learned how to catch this year.
Bottom line, I think that I definitely think Trevor Lawrence did enough to keep them in that game. And I'm not doubting Christian Kirk's talent. I'm just saying that boy got a bag to get down there. And, kudos to him. I appreciate everybody that gets the bag. I'm just saying at that moment and that time, if he catches that ball, the game flips. Now, same thing with the fumble, obviously. That was heartbreaking. They were coming down. They were about to tie the game. It looked imminent. And then, unfortunately, as you said, you can't turn over the ball against the Chiefs, especially in the red zone, and take points off the board. I think if they score a touchdown there and tie that puts an extreme amount of pressure back on Kansas City. Whereas, obviously they went down, they got the field goal or whatever. Or I don't even think they did, but they just ran the time off. It was hard. It was
backbreaking. Listen, Jacksonville got the ball back. They went. They kicked a field goal to get within 7 to cover. Thank you for that, by the way, Doug Peterson. Really appreciate that one. And then, unfortunately, onside kick doesn't fall to them. I will say, I thought that play where they ruled it a fumble was so close, right? It was so close to, was it a catch? Was it an incompletion? Whatever it was. But at the same time, that play that Patrick Mahomes had where he's he's throwing the ball, right?
Yep.
But then the
I
ball
agree.
comes out of his hand, but we don't even review that.
I agree.
They don't even
They
look
did,
at that.
They did look at it. They did look at
They
it.
didn't look at it.
They did. They did that expedited review.
Oh.
Yeah, they looked at it. But I'll agree with you. You know, we didn't get the McDonald's officiating crew. We got the Wendy's officiating crew. You know, and that just goes back to the point of referees are deciding football games, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with referees are deciding football games, and we need to get better as an organization because again, contracts, players' lives, everything is on the line on these games. One bad call, team misses it, doesn't advance to the playoffs, something like that. Contract year, people get cut. It is like that, and I really feel like that they need to do something. But again, I definitely think the Jags showed up. We definitely thought that they would cover the spread. They did, but you know, Chiefs and Chiefs Kingdom. You know, I was looking at a couple of my friends actually have season tickets over there, and I was looking at the prices for their playoff tickets. And I'll tell you, Kansas City is a reasonable football town price wise. I mean, they were only a couple $100, and that was on the resale market. These were lower bowl seats, so kudos to the Hunt family out there for keeping it affordable. Giants Eagles. The only thing I can say on this is, you know, just like Billy Bean said, if you don't win the last game, it doesn't matter what we're doing. I think the Moneyball Giants ran out. The lack of impactful wide receivers and position players across the board, they just got absolutely dismantled. Just dismantled. And I don't know if it's more of the Giants team getting exposed or the Eagles team actually starting to flex on what they really have. But coming out of that game, the Eagles are scary. The Eagles are absolutely scary. To see what they just did to the Giants, and they just shut them down. They just shut them down all the way around. They pretty much imposed their will on defense, offense. I mean, it was over from the get-go. And I really don't like Sirianni. I just don't like him. It's probably
not a fan.
I like a coach with a little bit of flash and stuff like that. But I feel like sometimes like he wants the camera on him.
For sure.
And maybe that's him running around jumping in front of the camera. Maybe. I don't know. But, like, you know, the head coach is always kind of the behind-the-scene guys, you know. It's kind of like, you know, Jim Irsay with the Colts, you know. He had his little stint there where he wanted to be involved, and all of a sudden it was DUI, it was this. And then he just kind of said, you know what, I'm just gonna slide on back. And, you know, I don't like him. But that Eagles team, I mean, they have to be. I mean, I'm going, which we'll get to that on Friday, but, I mean, it's got to be Eagles-Bengals at this point. But I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, there's not much you can really say about that beatdown.
Yeah, it was a tough game. You know, so I have a few thoughts on it. First of all, we saw it from Jump Street, right? Like, the Eagles' defensive line just absolutely destroyed the Giants' offensive line. And when there's no basis to be able to evolve a play or do anything, there's literally, you're handcuffed. There's nothing you can do, dude. Like, they were just beating them at every single time Daniel Jones dropped back, it was a jailbreak every single time. It was tough to watch. I do want to say, so, you know, listen, there's a situation, you come out, and this always frustrates me with coaches to an extent, right? At this point, it's 28-7, right? You have the ball, you're trying to drive down the Giants to get back into this game in some way, right? You have the ball, and I think it was like a 4th and 5 or something like that from like the 50 or the 45, and we decide to punt it. Okay. Here's my thing. I thought at that point you had just gotten the Eagles off the field for their first, you know, whatever. They didn't successfully convert anything, a 3 and out. You come back, you gotta show some confidence in your defense, and you do that by going for it. Because at the end of the day, 21-24 is still 3 scores. Now, it is 3 2-point conversions, which is a little bit tougher to get as well. But if you don't get that there and you hold them to a field goal, okay, I'm within 24 points. I'm within striking distance still, right? Punting the ball there and then having them come down, I mean, it does absolutely nothing for you. And then they came down and they kicked the field goal. But what they did was they wasted 8 minutes off the clock because you gave them the ball on the 5-yard line. You can expedite that 3 points happening. by just going for it there and seeing what happens. Listen, 268 yards rushing for Philly on 44 carries. Jalen Hurts didn't have to do anything because it wasn't required of him. I gave out Kenneth Gainwell. I thought he was an interesting anytime touchdown scorer. Now, it was in garbage time. It was like one of the last plays of the game. But still, I thought he deserved it, bro. When you look at his line, 12 carries, 112 yards, and a tutty. I thought the call was there. And then, to see him not score a touchdown, I'm like, are you serious? This is just how this entire freaking day is going to go. But he ends up getting it. I am a little worried, right? I saw A.J. Brown pouting on the sidelines, man. And it's like, dude, I get it. 3 catches, 22 yards on 7 targets, whatever it was. I understand you're frustrated. However, let's look at the team, man. Let's look at what you're doing right now. You're about to host the NFC Championship game, and your head coach feels the need to come over to speak to you because you're upset that you feel like you're not getting the ball or not being targeted enough. Listen, sometimes game script doesn't always go your way.
Is that confirmed? Is that what was happening there?
Well, that's what it looked like to me. That's what I inferred from what I saw on the television. But that you got to kind of shore that up. I agree with you on Sirianni. I think sometimes he makes it way just too much about him and not really about his players in terms of deflecting. Now, look, he's always going to say, but there's certain instances, right? Running over to the sideline against Indianapolis, saying this is for, Frank Reich. And there's a lot of instances where Sirianni he irks me. He's an agitator, Good, whatever. That's fine. Not everybody is ever going to like you, right? And so he could care less who I am, and I don't like him. It is what it is. I think it'll be very interesting. Philly looks, man, Ooh. Like they did this without having to throw the ball. Jalen Hurts 154 yards. He only threw the ball 24 times.
Well, and that goes back to what you're talking about, A.J. Brown. I'm sorry, but just like you said, your team's absolutely dominating, right? You're not in a contract. You're not in a contract here. You've already got your bag. Why are you just not happy that your team is winning? And that just goes a little bit to the modern athlete. And I'm not putting this on A.J. Brown, and I'm not saying that A.J. Brown is actually that's exactly what happened. But if that happened, the modern athlete, where it's just like, I need my touches, I need my this, and if I don't get it, I'm taking my ball and going home. You wanted out of Tennessee, okay? You could have went and got traded to the Panthers or the Saints or a team that just is dog shit. You went to the Philadelphia Eagles, who are now
case scenario is where you went.
Exactly. To already had a great offense, was just missing a couple pieces. You're that piece, okay? So, and you have to know as well, if you're that guy, that the other defense is probably going to scheme to take you out of the picture because you're number one. And then you got Devontae Smith over there as well. And it's just, you're winning the freaking game, bro. Give me a break. You're getting ready to go to the NFC Championship. 2 more games, you're in the Super Bowl. And you're going to sit over there and act like, well, I'm not getting my touches. Blow it out your ass. And Philly fans should be just as pissed about this. And Philly fans are a weird breed, man. They're a weird breed. Because sometimes, man, they defend, and then other times they're like, they crucify. And you never know which one they're going to do.
Did you see, all right, so this is like the epitome of Philly fans, right? There were the tailgate lots weren't going to open up until 4:00, I want to say, right? But Philly fans decided they wanted to tailgate all day. So there was a stipulation because there was a lacrosse game that was played at 12:30 or 1:00 in the afternoon, and they were the same tailgate lots that are open, but everybody goes, you clear out, and then the next wave of people comes in for the football game. The Philly fans all bought tickets to the lacrosse game so that they could get into the tailgate lots so that they could get there at 11 a.m. to start tailgating, dude.
That is awesome.
That is like the most Philly thing I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I got one better for you. Did you see the Chiefs? The Chiefs were literally in line at the gate as the sun came up. As the sun rose, they were already. So what they did is they got to the first of the line, right? In their trucks, cars, whatever. And then they put up their popped-up tents and started tailgating on the street because they had to wait for the employees to get there to open up the lots. And it wasn't just like one or two people. It was the whole way down. So as a matter of fact, it's so bad that they have a special lane on the left-hand side that they keep just for employees because the employees couldn't get in to the. Yeah, I mean, there's some alcoholics out there, bro, and I'm for it. I'm all about it. Cracking a little high.
Interesting to see what the Giants do in the offseason this year. They got a ton of cap room. They have a lot of draft picks. Daniel
start
Jones,
with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. I mean,
well, look, Saquon, you're gonna bring Saquon back, right? Hopefully, it's a good deal for both of you. Maybe you franchise tag Daniel Jones to see what you have for one more year, and go from there. I don't know. I don't know if Daniel Jones played himself out of a contract this year or not. That's not for me to decide. That is for the New York Giants to decide. I look forward to them building their line a little bit more. Offensive line, defensive line has been fantastic. Couple more DBs in the secondary. We'll see what happens with Love and some of those guys because I know they're free agents. So it'll be interesting to see.
I think the best thing that the Giants could do is, as you said, franchise Daniel Jones because he hasn't proven that he deserves a bag, but he did show very, very good signs this year. I would put him as a mid-tier quarterback in the league. I wouldn't put him on the bottom half. I'd put him mid-tier.
Not ahead of guys like Tom Brady or guys like that, but he's a good quarterback.
Yeah. So we got a comment here from Clayton. But if players aren't getting their touches, they can't get paid down the road, or if they already got paid, they need touches to justify the contract. Well, I would agree with that if we weren't playing in the playoffs and one game away from the NFC Championship. Like I said, A.J. Brown's already got his bag. And ain't nobody out there that's saying A.J. Brown ain't a superstar and isn't going to be one of the guys. So, I mean, you're right. And we did say that before. We said, if it's a contract year or if something's coming up, absolutely. It's just the same thing. Look, people didn't want to play for the Bears because they had no passing attack. You knew if you had a 2 or 3 year contract in the Bears, when you're coming out, you ain't getting shit because you're not going to have any stats whatsoever. But I'm saying on this one, your team's already up. You've justified that contract throughout the whole year, basically on A.J. Brown's stats the entire year. He's already justified it. But I mean, to pout in a playoff game to me is just I don't.
A.J. Brown is a proven commodity in this league. He doesn't need to prove his worth to anybody. We've seen him ball out at multiple different places. This isn't something where like he's playing. He's not playing for their contract. Him playing for their contract will happen in like 2 years. He's not playing for their contract right now. And honestly, just be
even justifying
out there celebrating with him, man. Like let it go, bro. As Elsa would say.
Let it go. Now. Let's talk about the team of destiny. Woo! The Buffalo Bills. Woo! They might as well just went out there and just laid a big turd on the field, and that would about have the same effect. Now, they even brought Damar Hamlin in the house. He gave a little pregame locker room speech, get everybody rah, rah, rah. They kept showing him in the suite. They came out like a flat tire coming around a curve at 45 miles an hour. Now, let me also say that the Bengals looked amazing. But before we get into that, I do want to go back to a comment that Marcus made after the last show and how the Cincinnati Bengals really got hosed by this Damar Hamlin thing. And if that game would have been played and Cincinnati would have beat Buffalo, that game should have been in Cincinnati. But there was no concern, there was no thought process until it came to the AFC Championship game. Cincinnati, the injury, whatever, he's better. I know he's a monitor, whatever. We're glad he's healthy. But on the same token, the Cincinnati Bengals really got screwed through no fault of their own. That game should have been in Cincinnati. If they would have beat them then. But I also think that hurt the Bills. Now, let me tell you why I think it hurt the Bills. Is because if that game would have been played fully, they would have had tape on Cincinnati on how they're going to play against the Buffalo Bills, which they didn't have now because obviously that game wasn't played. So, with that being said, the Bengals just owned them. The Cincinnati offensive line was so impressive. And all we heard going into it is they're missing 3 of their starters, their backups. It didn't matter. That offensive line manhandled the Buffalo. There was zero pressure on Joe Burrow. And Joe Cool has got to be the hottest quarterback in the NFL right now. That kid has ice in his veins. He throws it wherever the hell he wants to throw it. He's got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. And Hayden Hurst is emerging as well. Got a great running back. That team is locked and loaded. Now, I will say the game before, I thought that they looked a little shaky, that they got exposed. But I think that just goes back to the Baltimore gameplay that they had, that Buffalo did not. I mean, Leslie Frazier had no answer for Cincinnati. No answer whatsoever. And it showed. It showed over and over again. I just, there was a few plays that I thought that, especially at the end of the first half, that Cincinnati coaching kind of fumbled a little bit there. It was about 2 minutes ago, and you were second down and goal. Why you did not run the ball there is beyond me. You run the ball. At minimum, if you don't get the touchdown, you run the clock all the way down to under a minute before you even get to your third down play. It gave you a really chance to run the ball out, make sure that Allen and the Bills didn't get the ball back, but you didn't. So then you threw on second down, missed it. You threw on third down, missed it. You gave them the ball back with 1:55 to go. And then, of course, Buffalo, 2 plays later, is already into Cincinnati territory. Now, they didn't obviously come up with it, any points on that. But at that point, just run the ball. I don't understand. You already have them, and then of course the second half it was just it was a mercy. That's why if you saw back here today, I got my Bengals helmet back here, and of course if anybody knows me, you know who the signature on this is. Jeffrey, do you even need the look?
Who is it? I can't see. Who is it?
Evan Money McPherson. From the Florida Gators.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously the Bills were not a team of destiny. What happened? What happened to these Bills, Jeffrey? What happened?
Hey, listen, sometimes in your life you have bad calls and you just got to eat shit. This is one of those moments, and there was nothing more fitting than for me to get off the airplane that I was on last night than to see a text from you saying, "Oh man, can't believe somebody actually said that this was a team of destiny. What a freaking clown." So yeah, I was wrong. Listen, I love the over in this game. I couldn't understand it when it came out. It didn't make sense to me. Cincinnati's defense has been middle of the road pretty much the entire year. Buffalo couldn't do, pardon my French, shit against them. You're playing at home. You got railroaded over and over and over again by their running game, dude. Like, they were just pounding you. Their line was pushing you back and getting to the second level on pretty much every play. And they're missing 2 starters on the line.
3.
Okay? How do you come out? How do you come out and have no passion whatsoever? Josh Allen, I'm looking at you, bro.
I don't know how you can look at Josh Allen.
You know what? Let me tell you something about Josh Allen, all right? I know Buffalo fans absolutely love Josh Allen, all right? And you know what? He's great. He runs around. He scores a touchdown in the end zone. He flexes on somebody like he's the man. Bro, you're full of shit, dude. I cannot believe the way that you played yesterday, okay? And it's been happening the second half of this year. Whenever somebody gets any kind of push on your line whatsoever, you don't step up in the pocket. You get happy feet. You dance from side to side. You don't keep your eyes on the field. That's the reason Stephon Diggs is pissed at you, bro. That's the reason after the game, Stephon Diggs gathered all his shit up from his locker room and took off before anybody was even back there. And had to get dragged out and come back to the locker room from Duke Johnson. Stephon Diggs stayed for another 3 minutes and then got out of there again. Josh Allen is a very overrated quarterback to me. He's a great fantasy quarterback. If you love fantasy football and you love stats, Josh Allen is going to continue to always light it up for you. But the reason that he lights it up is the same reason that Jameis Winston used to light it up. Because as many great plays as he makes, he will make boneheaded, stupid plays that will cost his team points, which will put them in a position where they now have to throw the ball to get back into the game instead of playing smart football. All right? It irks me to no win. You have all the talent in the freaking world, dude, and you came out and you played like that yesterday in front of your home fans. I do want to say something to the Score app, though. This is a little bit frustrating, all right? I'm in DC. I got a lot going on, bro. I'm riding scooters with my kids. We're visiting monuments. I look at the Score app. I say, I'm curious, what's the weather going to be like in Buffalo today? I look at the Score app, and I screenshot and I sent to you. And what did it say? said 33 degrees, 0% precipitation.
Shocking that a weatherman got it wrong.
I said, okay, no precipitation in Buffalo, 33 degrees, manageable for both teams. I'm going to hammer this over as hard as I can. And then to watch the way that unfolded, it was very, very disappointing. I can't believe that their defense played with such a lack of heart. Tre'Davious White was supposed to be one of the best corners in the league. He had 2 or 3 pass interference calls yesterday that weren't even close, dude. Like, you could say they were close. They weren't. They were pass interference, bro. You're holding whoever it was. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, didn't matter. The other little whatever kid, I forget it. Let me see what that kid's name is. I forget his name. Who was the other little Trent Irwin or Mitchell Wilcox? I don't even know. One of those.
Irwin.
Anyway. One of those powdered donuts that was out there playing. I don't know. Okay.
Powdered
I don't know who
donuts.
It was one of those powdered donuts that was out there running routes. And let me tell you something, bro. For you not to be able to guard that guy, I don't know, Tre'Davious White. I used to believe in you. I'm done. I'm done with Buffalo. I'm done with McDermott. I'm done with Frazier. Clean house. All right. Josh Allen, I'm looking right at you, bro. Looking right at you. This is 3 years in a row that you haven't shown up really in a big game. You know, that you've lost a big game. 3 years in a row that we got to watch Stephon Diggs with his hands on his hips while another team's celebrating. Be better. Pissed me off. That's all I got.
Well,
and I'm looking right at you, Buffalo fans. You know, all the shit you guys talk, bro, I am so over it, man. I love some of you, right? My goddaughter is going to be a Buffalo fan her entire life, you know, because God forbid she's a fan of the Washington Commies, bro. You know, God willing she doesn't go that route. But, you know, it pissed me off to no end, dude. I've tried to be a Buffalo supporter. I have. And that game was absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. All right. I'm done.
So you didn't think Josh Allen put up a good performance, huh?
Terrible performance, bro. Every single time he's going to dance in the pocket. He's going to scramble outside for 3 or 4 yards. What do you average per rushing yard yesterday, right? Their leading rusher on the team, Josh Allen, 8 carries, 26 yards. They ran the ball 19 times as a team. That is Buccaneers-style shit, bro. That's Buccaneers-style play calling. 42 passing attempts, right? It's snowing. It's below freezing. Josh Allen's overthrowing everybody and their mother.
I don't think that matters.
Stephon Diggs twice. Gabriel Davis, catch a ball, bro. God bless. How many drops are you going to have this year? Unbelievable. Dude, the ball's right in your freaking hands.
Kind of like Christian Kirk.
No, we're not putting them in the same. First of all, Buffalo, right? The Kier kid, I loved him. He's had some big catches and good plays this year. He's not a number 2. Gabe Davis, not a number 2. Go find yourself another wide receiver in this draft, because I guarantee you, Stephon Diggs is out of there as soon as he can be.
Oh man, who? You know, it's funny that you talk about the passing and the weather though, because the Cincinnati Bengals carved up those snowflakes like it was nothing right off the get-go. I mean, they ran the ball down. They threw the ball. There was nothing they couldn't do. I mean, what did he do?
They averaged 5.1 yards per carry, Tyson. 5.1 yards per carry for the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay?
Yeah. Mixon 5.3, Pirine 4.7, Burrow 5.2. I mean, it was just a total domination. You know, it's just the same thing, you know. Where do you go from here? Because, I mean, this was supposed to be a Super Bowl caliber roster. Like you said, I definitely think that he needs another receiver. But then, you know, you got Leslie Frazier, who obviously the game plan did not work, you know, and they've been calling on him to be a head coach for years. I don't know. I don't know where you go from there from the Bills and Bengals, but, you know, it's over. And that's all that you can say about it, I guess.
It's over. And I can tell you right now what they have coming for them in terms of next year, right? Von Miller, he tore his Achilles, right?
That was a big loss.
You know what the dead cap number for Von Miller is next year if they end up cutting him?
About $15 million.
He has a cap hit of $18,615,000. His dead cap, if they were to cut him, is $40 million.
Seems like a good plan.
you're in a terrible spot, Buffalo. An absolute terrible spot.
Well, I mean, they definitely missed Von Miller in that game. I mean,
they have $230 million in cap that is already committed to dudes, right? And the total cap number next year is going to be somewhere around 226 million. You're already over the cap next year.
Yep.
This is your team.
Yep.
This is your team. This is your coaching staff. Good luck. Good luck. Miami Dolphins will run that division. Oh boy, here we go.
Now it's time for them Cowboys. Yeah! Oh boy. How about them Cowboys? You know, every time I come back to the speech from guy.
Where's your cigar?
It's downstairs. The Arizona Cardinals coach. God, what was it? What was his name when he gave the Bears speech? They are who they thought we were.
Green. They are who they thought they were.
Let them off the hook. Well, they ain't no letting no Cowboys off the hook. And you know, woo!
You would have crammed their ass.
Wow. You know, I think this just goes to show how bad the Bucks are. I gotta take this off because these things aren't gonna. Because the Bucks made Dak Prescott look like Aaron Rodgers,
Joe Montana,
and San Francisco said, "No, we know what we're doing," and Dak just turned into Dak. Interceptions, bad choices. Again, no running game. Troy Pollard going down hurt. You know, I think that they really screwed up. Tony Pollard, I'm sorry. Really screwed up with Zeke's contract and the money that they gave him because Zeke is now a complimentary back. He's not the lead back. Troy Pollard is the lead back. Tony, whatever I just said. Pollard. I'm just going to say Pollard. Okay? Pollard is the lead back.
Like Tua, you know? Just go with Tua.
Yeah, Tua. Nobody's saying that last name. And, you know, it's just, you know, Cowboy fans are just so obliviously passionate about their team. But there are some realistic ones out there. And, you know, there was no better scene than watching Jerry Jones in the suite accept defeat, you know. And the reason why I say that is because Jerry Jones, this is on you once again. You know, I mean, just wanting to be involved from everything. But this team was built. This team is way too good on paper to be getting bounced out in this round. That defense is absolutely, well, the front line is absolutely just nightmarish. Diggs, in my opinion, is a feast or famine corner. You know, he
absolutely.
They showed it. I think it was one that, you know, that wasn't him. But he goes for the interceptions. He goes to read the plays, makes a lot of interceptions, but also gives up a lot. And, you know, for the Dallas Cowboys, I don't even know where you go from here. I mean, you just got beat by Brock Purdy. I mean, say what you want. You still got beat by Brock Purdy, a third-string quarterback who hasn't gotten any bag. They relatively shut down Deebo Samuel. He didn't do hardly anything. Christian McCaffrey had a very tough game as well. You got beat by Brock Purdy. The defense said, we're going to make Brock Purdy beat us, and Brock Purdy beat you. Yeah, I just...
It was you know, listen, I didn't think the Cowboys played a bad game. Obviously, when you're playing a team like the 49ers, you can't have two picks. You know, that was tough from Dak. I think they have something in Dalton Schultz at tight end. I would love to see them, you know, continue to expound on that. CeeDee Lamb is definitely a number one. Definitely a number one. The fact that he was playing number two to Cooper last year, you know, is upsetting. But they need a number two. Who's their number two right now, right? You look at Michael Gallup.
They brought in
0 for 0 on 3 targets.
They brought in T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, and T.Y. Hilton actually caught a ball yesterday. Now, here's where it's going to get very interesting for the Cowboys, right? The Cowboys are pretty much screwed with cap space.
As they are every year.
The issue is that Tony Pollard is an unrestricted free agent, okay? And, you know, first of all, shout out to my Cowboy fans. I do it every single time. Both my Fitzpatrick boys, Allred, Schuler, Buffy. Appreciate all you guys always tuning in. like Dak. Dak is what we all know Dak is, right? And he is. I was impressed to see Dak run the ball a little bit better. In these playoffs, I feel like he scrambled a little bit more. I feel like maybe he's coming back into his own a little bit, coming off that injury. You got to figure out what you're going to do with Tony Pollard, right? Tony Pollard has been the best back, one of your best offensive weapons the entire year, unrestricted free agent. How much money are you willing to actually delve into the running back position, a position that nobody other team in the NFL really values like that? Most of the time running backs do not get paid. And now you're telling me now we got to pay Tony Pollard. You got to franchise tag Tony Pollard, like to give him that much money. It's tough. Your defensive line was great. I think when you look at a guy like Deron Bland, I thought he played great. I thought Anthony Barr had a good game, regardless of what the stats are going to tell you. And obviously, you look at guys like DeMarcus Lawrence up front to go along. Micah Parsons is an absolute animal. Didn't have his best game of the year yesterday. But they were also, you're going against guys like Trent Williams, you're getting doubled. It's just other guys.
They game playing for him. Shocker.
You have to step up. Now, moving on to San Francisco.
Hold on. Before we get back to San Francisco, I want to kind of touch on that the Pollard situation, because you can't pay him. You're paying Zeke $15 million a year.
No shot.
That's his contract. He signed a 6-year, $90 million. There's no way you can sign Troy Pollard. and that's when I go back to the signing of Zeke. At that time, Zeke was doing good, and he pressured Jerry Jones into being Jerry Jones and signing it, when we all know that running backs don't get paid this anymore. They just don't. And like you were talking about, it's sad because they are the bruiser of the team. But I'm not saying they're a dime a dozen, but they're a dime a dozen. There's probably a few backs out there, a few that just have that explosiveness. Even Saquon. Saquon is not all the time. Plus, you have injury prone in that position. The fact that Zeke handcuffed them at $15 million a year is going to continue to screw them. And he is not a free agent until 2027.
Yeah, Zeke's cap hit next year is $16.72 million. It's going to be very interesting because if you look at it, they're still going to have to pay guys, right? Listen, they just paid Michael Gallup. I don't know, man. He had a chance to make a play yesterday, didn't make the play. Zero catches. Anyway,
the Dallas Cowboys are in absolute shambles.
You're in a bad spot.
This was 2 years ago. Los Angeles Rams, all or nothing year. It was an all or nothing year.
You still haven't paid Micah Parsons. You still have not paid CeeDee Lamb. Okay, Micah Parsons' cap hit next year is $4.65 million. Okay, CeeDee Lamb's cap hit next year $4.45 million.
Is that the last year of their contracts?
I think they're both eligible. I'm sorry, CeeDee Lamb is definitely eligible for an extension. I think Parsons has one more year before he can be extended.
Because at that point now you're looking at players sitting out until they get a new contract.
Exactly.
That's just so. Right, so go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to touch back on that. I just think that Ezekiel Elliott signing was just god awful.
Well, we both said, right, when they signed Dak and Zeke, we both said we don't know if either of those are going to work out. You fast forward 2 years later, neither of them have. You haven't gotten any results out of them. They've both been hurt, and now you're looking at it as you'd rather have their backups than both of them. It's an unfortunate situation, man.
And that's why I think it's so. Same thing with the Lamar Jackson situation. It's as a general manager, it's just so difficult. It's a tough job. It's a tough job to who's getting paid, who's what. If you have a superstar player, you want to think, longevity. You want to think with the place game, but you also, you've watched this guy. You maybe drafted him. You maybe, have scouting for years. You're bringing this player up. You want to see him succeed, but sometimes you got to take the blinders off and say,
let's look at that division really worth it? Like going forward, that division is going to continue to be one of the toughest divisions in football. Okay, the Eagles are not going anywhere for years. They're going to be just fine for years to come because all the skill pieces are around, and as long as Jalen Hurts continues to play at Jalen Hurts level, they're going to be absolutely fine. If you look at, let's say, the Giants, okay, yeah, the Giants have some question marks, but they have a ton of cap space, a ton of draft picks, and a really, really good head coach when it comes to Brian Daboll. let's also look at now your Washington Commanders. Okay. Great defense. I think their defense is solid. I think when you look at Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin on the outside to go along with Jahan Dotson, the pieces are there. They're a quarterback away. There's a lot of talk about Lamar possibly going to the DC next year.
Well, they didn't have Chase Young for almost the entire season as well.
It's ridiculous, bro. When you put guys like Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, I mean, these guys are absolute monsters. As long as they shore up their secondary a little bit, I think Washington is going to be a great team in that division as well too. That what I'm trying to say, Cowboys fans, that division will not get any easier going forward, and I think we all kind of know it.
It's not the NFC South.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry about that for you guys. Now, to move on to the 49ers, okay? Because I want to say this about the 49ers. I thought the 49ers played a very average game for 49ers standards. If you look at the stats, right, Brock Purdy wasn't great, right? 19 of 29, 214. Moment was a little bit big for him in the first half. If you look at the running backs, okay, Elijah Mitchell out rushing Christian McCaffrey was not something that I had on my bingo board. Okay, no. I didn't think, especially in that last drive, if we're being honest with ourselves, right, if Christian McCaffrey is the one running the ball, he probably goes down in bounds. We never get to that last.
What a terrible play by him. Call. What are you doing? Everybody on the sideline, he's running down the sidelines. They're pointing, stay in, and he just tiptoes out. It's like, bro.
But, so, to go back to this real quick, I do want to say, if I'm Mike McCarthy, I'm actually upset with Elijah Mitchell, right? Because if Elijah Mitchell stays in bounds, we never get to the point where you're lining up Ezekiel Elliott, right, under center to hike the ball to Dak Prescott to get just absolutely destroyed.
They both got destroyed. Ezekiel Elliott got steamrolled like a tank. The receiver got knocked into next week.
But here's my question about this too, right? And like I don't know. I don't know what goes into that play call. I'm sure listen, those guys got to know more X's and O's than I do about football. But wouldn't you want like speed guys there at some point?
Well, I think it's more of like a hook and ladder type thing. So right, so
I understand. Okay,
so they wanted to come. He was going to catch the ball, flip it to somebody else, and then go from there.
Okay. So, but your first read is to go. All right, I'm talking play design now. Right?
I think there's only one read on that play.
You have what, 3 or 4 linemen lined up on the right side of that play.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're running a slant to the side that the 3 or 4 linemen are on and pitching it to a guy that those 3 or 4 linemen are nowhere close to as fast as. That guy's just going to fly off even if he catches the ball. Right. But there's going to be guys on that side. Who are your linemen blocking for? How does the ball get back over to that side then?
Let me give you a scenario. Let me give you a scenario.
Ahead, please.
So you have Ezekiel Elliott as the center, right? You have the three linemen on the bottom. Okay.
Okay.
So let's just say Zeke hikes it, doesn't get absolutely destroyed, right? Okay. So let's just say Zeke is not a pancake on the field at this point. Let's say that he actually has legs. All right. So he comes around to the out, follows the linemen. All right. As the linemen are running down the field, and the ball eventually gets pitched back to him. I don't know. You know, Mike McCarthy, you know, his time management popped up again in this game.
What was he doing?
You know, the time management aspect of the NFL with head coaches, to me, is just absolutely mind-boggling. You know, but Mike McCarthy has had it shown up over and over and over again. Like, it's just reared his ugly head. And at the end of the day, Cowboy fans have to be talking again about Dak and Mike McCarthy. Dak and his, you know, interceptions. Mike McCarthy, his game plan and his time management. To get with you, the San Francisco's, I thought, played a terrible game. I would say they was even below average.
That was so. My takeaway with when it comes back to San Francisco, because I'm sorry I got off on that tangent about that last play, because that was just. I mean, we like I watched it live time. That play between the Patriots and Colts happened, and I remember thinking, what is going on? And you know, to Pat McAfee's credit, he always says that ball was never supposed to be hiked. Right? That's basically the way that it went. This is like you designed this play. This was your. Don't worry, guys. There's 7 seconds from the 20. We got something for them.
Clay said, "I'd love to see what that play looked like on the chalkboard." We would all love to see that.
The annexation of Puerto Rico. Like, how did we get to that spot where that was it? Like, it's mind-boggling, right? So to get back to San Francisco, I thought San Francisco did not play a great game offensively. Okay. Their defense with Warner and with Greenlaw and with Bosa, I mean, it is just it with Armstead. You know, that was the other thing that made me mad too. Is like I hate these rules now. You saw Armstead; he had Dak dead to rights in the end zone for a safety, but he was so scared to wrap him up and get a roughing call that he literally just like body checked him, and Dak rolls out of it. The game should have been over anyway. Their defense is something serious, dude, and it's going to be very interesting to me. I think the number one thing that we're going to have to look at when it comes to next week's game, and obviously we'll get into that later, but how is San Francisco going to deal with those wide receivers on the outside? All right. Jimmy Ward is a great corner. Charvarius Ward has given up some of the most big plays in the NFL this year.
Well, like you said, we'll get into it Friday, but I think they get absolutely torched.
I don't know if they get torched because I just feel like their skill pieces are so good, right? When you look at and the way that
on the offensive side
is an absolute genius, right? Absolute genius. D'Amico Ryans, he's gonna dial up some defense for them. That is gonna be tough to overcome from Eagles' point of view. But I mean, when you look at it, I think the matchups are just incredible. The only place that I would give the advantage to would be to Philadelphia's wide receivers over the DBs for San Francisco. And that's the only place, besides quarterback, obviously, you would definitely want Jalen Hurts over Brock Purdy. But other than that, and that's the other thing, too, is like when you have to double those guys because you can't guard them one-on-one. You can't guard Devontae with Charvarius Ward one-on-one. Now, is that going to open up running lanes for Jalen Hurts to get through everything?
And I think that's where the exposure is going to come from. I really do. As many weapons as San Francisco has, I think that Philadelphia has more, and on both sides. I mean, the Philadelphia defense obviously leading sacks, most pressure, and then you got, unfortunately, you do have Brock Purdy there, and Kid has been playing great so far. He's limiting him some mistakes, but you have to think now, okay, we're in a national championship. I'm going to be playing. He's been playing at home. Now he's going to Philadelphia, probably one of the most ruthless stadiums to play in as an opposing opponent. And you got all of this pressure that's going to be coming all of the time. Now, again, like you said, I know Shanahan's going to design some plays to get that ball out quick. I think you're going to see a lot of those stupid wide receiver screens, which you know how I feel about those. Which, speaking of which, wasn't there what was the wide receiver screen that the guy threw that he didn't even know? Buffalo. Was that Diggs or Davis? One of the plays they threw a wide receiver screen. The receivers were already going down blocking, and the guy that was supposed to get the ball ran down with them. It was a capital, but anyway, you know how I feel about wide receiver screens. And I'm sure we'll dive into that on Friday about how they do. But again, I think San Francisco just did just enough to win. I don't know, Cowboy fans. It's one of those things. I just think you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, Dak and Mike McCarthy are your issues once again. Your coaching with your play calling, your time management. And then your quarterback, once again, just not showing up at the big stages. I don't know what you do with it.
Does Sean Payton fix that? Is Sean Payton the answer to fix this team? Because I don't think it is. And I think, personally, you got to tear it down a little bit.
Why is Sean Payton considered such a guru?
Who was in the pudding?
What did he win? One Super Bowl?
Saints were good every single year that he was their coach.
But did he win? How many Super Bowls did he win? One?
One.
Okay. I mean, Mike McCarthy's won one. If you don't, and that just goes back to my point of if you're not winning, when we talked about winning records and this, if you're not winning the chip, what good does it do?
End of the game, coaching on the line. You want Mike McCarthy? Or you want Sean Payton? Who you want?
Well, Sean Payton, but I'm not paying him $25 million a year and giving up three first round picks.
I agree with you.
I mean, somebody will. That to me is absolutely ludicrous.
But if I was somebody who was going to do that, it would be somebody who was in a complete teardown already, who you can give up assets because you need a strong foundation and a base for your coach.
I'm just saying, what you won one Super Bowl. I just don't get it. I don't get why Sean Payton is Bill Belichick's won 6, right? 7? No, 6. I mean, obviously he's in a different category in my opinion. Now, to me, that's a proven winner that has won 6 Super Bowls. I don't know.
The NFL is so offensive based though that you want to have a guy who's an offensive mind who can just hire a defensive guy like Dennis Allen and not ever have to worry or touch that. We have them worry about late game situations, manage the offense, let the defense take care of everything else and special teams, and keep it moving.
I mean, I agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a good coach.
Look at the teams that are successful right now. Honestly, like let's look at the teams that are in the
Well, let's take the Bengals.
Four,
the Bengals are a perfect example.
Okay, yeah, Zach Taylor, offensive guy, right? You look at Andy Reid, offensive guy. You look at Nick Sirianni, offensive guy. You look at Kyle Shanahan, offensive guy. They all are offensive-minded people who have just hired defensive coordinators. They don't touch that side of the ball. They manage late game situations well, and they're successful.
Yep. I think that's why I think you see people hiring the likes of Matt Nagy, because they're just hoping for the next offensive guru.
You're hoping for lightning in a bottle, or you're hiring Cliff Kingsbury.
Whatever happened to the LSU offensive coordinator that went to
Joe Brady?
Yeah, whatever happened to him?
He went with Matt Rule to he went with Matt Rule to Carolina, and was the OC in Carolina.
Yeah, but he already got fired from there.
Yes,
he got fired in 1 year. I don't even know where he's at.
Is he with the Buffalo Bills now?
I don't think he's anywhere.
Oh yeah, he's the Joe Brady. Yeah, he's the quarterback coach for the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, there you go, helping your boy Josh Allen.
I mean,
real quick,
talk about somebody who regressed this year.
Real quick, before we end this, I just want to get this on record before anything breaks. I know you talked about earlier about Lamar Jackson and Lamar Jackson possibly going to different places. Does Lamar Jackson play for Baltimore again?
No.
So the rumors that I heard is that he wants a fully guaranteed contract. He wants the Deshaun Watson contract.
Yes, he wants $200 million guaranteed.
Is anybody going to give him that?
Yes.
Who?
Somebody.
So
the problem is going to run into, like, if he wants to go to like a team like Washington, right? Washington is about to be sold, I think, in the next like 2 to 3 months. Once the owners' meetings take place and they ratify the new owner to come in, then you'll see changes being made there. But right now, Washington can't really do anything, and they're not going to sign anybody because Dan Snyder's on his way out. So that regime is not going to do that. So he's going to have to wait a few months.
I don't think he's getting anything guaranteed. I think that there's some behind-the-scenes collusion with the NFL owners that they're all obviously pissed about the Browns and what the Browns did, and rightfully so. We agreed that was just an egregious. But the rumors is I think, what was it? Kyler Murray got $160 million guaranteed. I think Aaron Rodgers got $150 million guaranteed. The rumor was that the Ravens came back with $113 million guaranteed.
Yeah, it's an insult.
Well, it is an insult.
Depending on the years, I don't know what the years looked like, right?
I'm sure it was 5 years.
I would give Lamar $125 million guaranteed right now for what? 3 years? 3 years, $125 million guaranteed.
You're gonna make me do the math on that?
What do you mean? It's like $42 million a year.
$40 million?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's gonna want more than that, though. He's gonna want more years.
I think he's gonna have a tough time with his guaranteed money. I think, and the reason for that being is just the way he plays. A la Robert Griffin. Clay brought up a good point when I was talking to him the other day. Mobile quarterbacks don't last.
Look at the way Josh Allen plays.
They just don't last.
Look at the way Josh Allen plays.
Josh Allen is a beast, though. He's like, what, 6'6", like 240? What is Lamar Jackson?
Not as big as Josh Allen.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Just mobile quarterbacks are, and that's one of the concerns that we have as Bear fans, is we don't want that offense, because what's going to happen? They don't last. It just doesn't last in the NFL. So I think it's very, very tough to give somebody that tenured of a contract with that much guaranteed when at some point he's going to get hurt. It's not an if, it's when. And for how long? Jalen Hurts, hurt this year. Justin Fields, hurt this year. Lamar Jackson, hurt this year. The only one that wasn't was Kyler Murray, out. Now, every mobile quarterback like that has design runs doesn't last in the NFL. There's not
what about
one.
Josh Allen?
Josh Allen is not running the same offense that the Philadelphia Eagles is, where he has designed. I would say that Daniel Jones had more designed runs than Josh Allen this year.
Daniel Jones didn't get hurt this year.
He didn't, but he's a big boy, and he's not as fast as these guys. And so what I'm saying by he's not as fast as these guys is that means that he is not getting around to a position where he's wide open, where somebody's coming clean at them.
I've had the argument for a long time that if Cam Newton couldn't last in the NFL, that I don't know who can because of his size and how big he is.
But he had sticks for legs, man. He had sticky legs. You could wrap your whole fingers around his ankle.
I would pay him, like I said, I'd give Lamar $40 million guaranteed for 3 or 4 years.
I don't know. Anyway, what a recap. We find out that the Bills are definitely not the team of destiny. The Bengals are out for blood. There's blood in the water.
You can't tell me that you didn't think when I gave you the points that I gave you last week about the storm and DeMar Hamlin and all these different factors coming in.
No.
Okay.
Did I pick the Bills or did I pick the Bengals? No, folks, this is not a radio pause. We're just waiting for an answer.
There's no answer to it. I know who you picked, obviously.
Because I picked the Bengals. I got some serious. I don't even know if I can say this on the air, so I'm not going to. But no, I'm not going to. So we learned that the Bills are not a team of destiny.
The Bills are frauds, bro. The Bills are frauds.
They're frauds. The frauds. We learned that the Eagles are a force to be reckoned with. And then we learned that Joe Burrow could be the best quarterback in the league right now. And, that's just the way it is. Shout out to Jeremy Corolla at the end. Gigantor, good to see you, buddy. Congratulations on your fantasy football win.
No. Let's say this. Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
I'd say possibly.
Who's a better quarterback than him?
Justin Fields.
Man, shut the fuck up. Good God.
Joe Burrow's the best quarterback playing right now. How about that?
Thank you.
Playing right now. There's only 4 teams left. But...
and then I'd take Trevor Lawrence after that. Going forward.
Oh, God. Here we go. And on that note, I'm going to go take a shit. Enjoy the rest of my day.
We'll see you on Friday, guys.
Thanks for everybody tuning in. We'll be back Friday. Make sure you notice. Follow all the socials down here at the bottom. Give us a shout. Let us know what you guys want to talk about. We'll see you on Friday at 11 a.m. Peace.